By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to self-host n8n, and this is going to allow you to unlock some of the limitations that come with using the cloud versions. For example, you'll be able to have an unlimited amount of active workflows, and you can have as many of them running at the same time. So if that sounds like something you would be interested in, then you are in the right place. Let's jump right in. So before we jump in, I think it's important for us to discuss some of the differences between the self-hosted version and the cloud version of n8n. So the obvious benefit to doing this is that you're not going to be paying the monthly subscription that you would have to if you go with the cloud version. And so that isn't to say that there won't be any cost, because as we take on the responsibility of hosting, then that means we have to pay for hosting. But some of the other limitations with the cloud version to take into consideration is the number of workflow executions that you can have, the number of active workflows, so workflows that you want to run automatically. On the starter version, you can only have 5. On the pro version, you can have 15. And if you are running this on your own server, then you can have as many as possible. Something that is only accessible to enterprise plan holders with the cloud version. So there are other differences here, but those are going to be the major differences. What you're going to see is that the community edition, which is the self-hosted version, gives you access to 95% of what you are going to need n8n for. As you grow, if you start running an operation that is humongous, you might start to think about a cloud version if you need features such as global variables, or if you need different environments. I'm not needing any of these, so the community edition works well for me. I think it's worth us talking about why you might not want to self-host n8n, and this goes for any software that you might want to install onto your own server. Now, most people talk about all of the advantages that come with hosting software yourself, such as unlimited use and reduced costs, and all those things are definitely true. However, there are some things that you need to keep in mind. If you are hosting n8n on your own, and that means that you are going to be responsible for the management of the server. And this might not be something you want to do if you're not comfortable getting your hands dirty a little bit. It's not terribly complicated. It's pretty easy once you get your head around certain things. And you'll also be responsible for security, which is what naturally comes with managing a server. These are all things that would be handled if you just use the cloud version. So if you don't want to get involved with servers, then you might not want to go down the route of self-hosting, even though it's not as complicated as you might think, because I'm going to show you soon. So if you come over to the n8n website, you'll see that there is guidance on how you can self-host it, and it's all pretty clear. And there are a number of different ways that you can go about it, right? So for those who are more technical, you can use Docker or npm, and then you have a number of guides for installing it on some different server setups from different companies. The one I'm going to take you through today is DigitalOcean, and that's because it's the one that I use. I think that they have sensible pricing, and it's really easy to upgrade later. The cheapest droplet is going to cost you it's going to cost you $4 a month, and there's $6, etc. And it's really easy to upgrade. I recommend, starting with the $4 or $6, and you can easily upgrade later. Another option is Render. They do have a free plan. This is something that is worth checking out as well if you don't want to spend any money at all. But you might find that you quickly outgrow the hobby plan, and the next jump up is $19, right? Whereas the jumps up in DigitalOcean are less. So I've also heard great things about Hetzner. I've not used it, but they definitely have great pricing, right? So, you know, n8n does have a guide on Hetzner, so you can follow that if you want to do that instead. But let's jump into installing this on DigitalOcean. Before you start, you're going to need a domain, a DigitalOcean account, and that's it. Let's jump in. So the first thing you're going to want to have to do is sign up for a DigitalOcean account. Simply click on sign up and follow the instructions. So once you're logged in, you're either going to have a default project here that you can just click into, or create a new project, right? So I'm just going to call this automation school, and you can add the description and select the purpose and press create project. So once you've created your project, you want to click up here on the green button and choose droplets. And what you're going to see here is a prompt to choose the location of your droplet. You want to choose a location that's closest to you to ensure it's as fast as possible, although it's not going to make much of a difference, to be honest with you. And then what you want to do is choose an image, right? So we want to install Docker, and what you can do is search for Docker here, or you can click on the Docker image right here, right? So make sure that you don't just click directly on create droplet, because as you can see, the size of the droplet that's been selected by default is $32 a month. So what we want to do is to scroll down to select exactly which one we want. And so we're going to go for a basic one. We want it a regular CPU, and then we can select the $6 a month CPU, which gives us 1 gig of CPU, 25 gigabytes of storage, and a terabyte of transfer each month, which is plenty, right? You can choose the authentication method that you want. I already have an SSH key, so I could use that, or you could simply create a password. Let's do that. And once you're done, check that everything is correct and just press create droplet. And this should take 30 seconds or so. Right, so now that we've created our droplet, what we'll need to do is log in, create a user, and then install n8n onto the droplet. So there are a number of ways that we can log in. We can click on the droplet, and this button here in the top right, console, will allow us to open the console in the browser, which works well. But what I would like to do is use the terminal on my Mac, right? So just search for terminal. I like to use iTerm, which is pretty much the same thing, just with a few different features. And what we will need to do is type in SSH at root, SSH root at, and then the IP address of your droplet. You just want to type in yes here to save the fingerprint, and then type in your password. And we are in. I'm going to type in clear just so we have a clean terminal here. And so in order to install n8n, you simply need to, before we do that, we need to create a user. So all we need to do is type add user, and then the name of the user. And then we're going to create a password. Can skip this. All the information is correct. And so the next thing that we need to do is make sure that we are giving that user the right permissions, right? So we're simply going to copy this command here, and then I'm just going to replace username with the name of the user that we created. And that's that, right? And so now that we have created a user and given this user the correct permissions, what we need to do is log out, which you can just type exit, and now we can log in with our user. SSH David, in my case, at, and then the server address. Enter your password, and there we go, we are in. Lovely. And so let's clear that. And so now what we need to do is install n8n. And it's as simple as copying this command and pasting it in, which is going to copy all of the files from GitHub and install it onto our server. And it's going to happen in a flash. There we go. And so the next thing that we need to do, we need to move into this directory that has been created. CD means change directory. So we can press CD N and then tab to expand and enter that directory. And then, okay, so now we're going to copy this command here and we're going to paste it in. All right, so that's that. And then we're going to do the same for the n8n data directory, and that has been done as well. Okay, so once we've done all of that, the next thing we need to do is to tell our server that we want to allow for connections to it over the internet, right, from our browser. And so these commands here are saying that we want to allow connections from normal HTTP connections and HTTPS. So insecure connections and secure connections. And that's that, simple as that. Right, and to configure n8n, we're going to have to go into the environment file, and that's what we have here. And what we need to do is complete all of these details here. So here you're going to enter the domain name. So for me it's automationschool.ai. And the subdomain, n8n, that looks good. I'm going to leave that as that. And then the directory path to n8n docker caddy. Right, so I'm going to exit this to figure out what the exact path is to that. So what I'm going to type in is pwd, and I'm going to copy this. Right, /home/David. Shane, /home/David. Right, let's go back. And we want this to reflect exactly what we just saw, right? Which is /home/David in my case. Home/David. All right. The SSL email, I'm going to just set this to david@automationschool.ai. All right, and then to save, we're going to press Control and X. Yes. And that is as simple as that. All right, so we need to configure one more file, and it's this one here. the Caddy configuration file. So we're just going to copy this command nano to go into that. And the only thing that we need to do is to change this so that it knows the domain that we are going to be using. So for us, it's going to be n8n.automation school.ai, right? That is all we need to do here. And Control X and Y to save. And that's all we need to do for that. And so finally, we just need to run this command here. And what's happening now is our Docker container is starting, and it's going to serve n8n. But one more thing that we need to do is make sure that we have actually pointed our domain to the server. So your IP address is here, and so what you're going to want to do is log into your domain registrar. So what we need to do now is make sure that we have pointed our domain to the droplet. So we're going to come in here, and we are simply going to create a record, create an A record. The subdomain is n8n, and then our IP address. And that is all we need to do here. So an A record with the subdomain pointing to the subdomain, and then your IP address. Alright, so that has started. So only thing we need to do now, this may take, this can take a couple of hours to update, but it typically happens quite quickly. And now if I go to n8n.automationschool.ai, as you can see, we now have our n8n instance installed. Is that account for the time again? And we are sorted. We now have a self-hosted version of n8n, and we are ready to create an unlimited amount of automations without any limits, and it's only going to cost us $6 a month. Fantastic. Right, so if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and look forward to sharing some great workflows and solutions for automating lots of busy work here on this channel. Thank you.